Hello, and welcome to the North Carolina Immunization Registry Pharmacy User Webinar. My name is Nikita Spears, and Isabel Reynolds will be conducting today's training. We both work with the North Carolina Immunization Branch. This presentation will provide an overview of the following objectives. Provide an overview of the North Carolina Immunization Program and the North Carolina Immunization Registry, which will be referenced to as NCIR in this presentation. Discuss the North Carolina Board of Pharmacy law, and lastly, provide a demonstration of the NCIR and explain how pharmacists will utilize the registry to document immunizations. A brief background of the North Carolina Immunization Program. The North Carolina Immunization Program is administered by the North Carolina Immunization Branch, which is located within the Women's and Children's Health section under the North Carolina Division of Public Health. Our two primary goals are to eliminate vaccine-preventable diseases and increase immunization coverage for everyone across the state. The purpose of the North Carolina Immunization Registry is to serve as a secure web-based resource that can be used as a clinical tool and also serves as an official immunization record. It has taken the place of handwritten charting of immunization. The registry has been primarily used by medical homes such as pediatricians, local health departments, and family physicians. Currently, over 40% of adults in North Carolina have at least one immunization documented in the registry. We hope to increase this percentage with this new law. Some benefits of NCIR are it allows real-time access to a complete and accurate immunization record. It evaluates immunization status and helps to identify individuals in need or past due for immunizations. It saves labor time and provides quality assurance benefits for providers and staff tracking immunizations. It's population-based and designed to record immunizations throughout a person's lifespan. It also serves as one source to find all vaccine information in the event of a vaccine recall. It decreases duplication of vaccines administered. And lastly, it protects records in the event of a natural disaster. Now, I will discuss the new pharmacy law and the North Carolina Immunization Branch's role with this law. House Bill 832, expanding the role of immunizing pharmacists, passed on July 3, 2013. Under this law, immunizing pharmacists with a prescription can give any CDC recommended vaccine to anyone 18 years of age or older. However, the vaccines listed in this law, such as pneumococcal, zoster, hepatitis B, meningococcal, and Tdap, can be given to anyone 18 years of age or older without a prescription. And immunizing pharmacists must follow a written protocol. Lastly, under this law, immunizing pharmacists may administer influenza to persons 14 years of age or older. According to the bill, immunizing pharmacists who administer vaccines must do the following: maintain a record of any vaccine or immunization administered to a patient in a patient profile. Within 72 hours after administration of a vaccine, notify the patient's primary care provider. If a patient does not have a primary care provider, immunizing pharmacists shall direct patients on the benefits of having a primary care physician. Except for influenza vaccine, all immunizing pharmacists should access the North Carolina Immunization Registry prior to administering a vaccine and record any vaccine administered to a patient in the registry 72 hours after the administration. If the registry is not operable, pharmacists shall report this information as soon as reasonably possible. This law becomes effective October 1st, 2013. Now, Isabel Reynolds will go over what your pharmacy trainers will teach you and how to use the North Carolina Immunization Registry.
Hello, my name is Isabel Reynolds, and I'm going to show you some of the functions you'll be using in the NCIR. Here's what your trainer will teach you. Your trainer will explain and provide guidance on the following. 1. Creating a shortcut to the registry on your store's computer. 2. Creating a user ID. 3. Using the NCIR to search for clients and documents vaccines administered. 4. Signing and retaining a confidentiality agreement for each NCIR user. And 5. Completing a competency test that is specific to the user's role. When you pass the competency test, the trainers will activate your account in the NCIR. Step 1, creating a shortcut. It's preferable to use Internet Explorer 7 or 8 as your browser. Google Chrome is also acceptable. Your trainer will provide details on the steps required. We have some resources for you, and that will be included there. Please remember that you will likely experience problems logging in if you do not follow the exact steps provided. The steps include manually typing the NCIR website address into the URL of the shortcut. The step is necessary because the NCIR is not accessed directly but through NCID, which is our North Carolina Identity Management. This also applies when saving the NCIR as a bookmark or favorite in your browser. Step 2, creating a user ID. You will have access to anyone who has access to the NCIR will need to create a user ID before being trained on the registry. Your trainer will provide details on the specific steps. There are 4 steps to becoming an active NCIR user. 1, you must complete the online registration with NCID. 2, the user verifies their account via email. 3, the user emails their user ID to the trainer. And 4, the trainer activates the user ID in the NCIR. You must complete steps 1 through 3 prior to your training. Step number 4 will be completed by your trainer after your training and after you have successfully passed the competency test. This is the training checklist. You will be trained on how to maneuver the home page, how to search for clients and add new clients in the NCIR, viewing the immunization history and the recommend screen, adding and editing historical immunizations, printing the patient copy of the immunization record, and for pharmacy administrators, adding new users to the NCIR. Step 4 and 5, sign confidentiality agreement and pass the competency test. Everyone who has access to the NCIR must sign a confidentiality agreement. You will then take the competency assessment for your user role, and upon successful completion of the assessment, your trainer will activate your user ID and you may access the NCIR. Now we'll go over the things you need to know about the NCIR. We'll go over each section beginning with the home page. When you log into the NCIR, this is what you'll see, the NCIR homepage. Let's go through a few things on here. First, you'll see at the top your organization names should appear here, then the username and the user role. If you click this button, the homepage button, you'll be able to return to the homepage when you're on any screen on the NCIR. You can change your password by clicking the Change Password button. And here's where you would log out of the NCIR. There is a help desk button available. However, pharmacy users should not contact the NCIR through the help desk. The pharmacy trainers serve as the ongoing point of contact for all communication between the North Carolina Immunization Program and the pharmacies they train. You should contact your trainer with any questions you may have. This button on the right is the light bulb. It opens the online help module, which gives you help for corresponding pages that you're looking at. You can search things from the user manual by clicking on that light bulb. Your menu on the left, the blue side, that is your main menu. There's a system user manual available there. You'll pay close attention to chapters 8 and 9 for pharmacy users. On the home page, you'll find the announcements. We encourage you to read the announcements. They're short blurbs that the state puts out that have some good information regarding any changes in vaccines, memos, vaccine supply announcements, and recalls. Once you click on the announcement, the yellow "new" goes away so you can keep track of the ones you've read. In the middle is the release notes. Any updates that are made to the NCIR will be posted there. There's several resources on the web that are provided. You can get to the North Carolina Immunization Branch homepage from the website. You can print vaccine information sheets, which are required by law that you provide to clients after you administer a vaccine. They can be printed directly from the homepage. Also, you can access the North Carolina, the VAERS website so that you can report any adverse reactions. On the right is any upcoming events that we have. We will post there any conferences or trainings. The next part of the training checklist is searching for a client or adding a new client. Back on the home page, the first place you'll always start is Manage Client. There are well over 7 million clients in the NCIR, so we have to search to see if the client is already in the NCIR. Once you click Manage Client, you'll see this screen and you'll search by last name, first name, date of birth. Once you've put the last name, first name, date of birth, there's a couple of options that could come up. One, you may have an exact match, and if you do, this is what you'll see. It'll populate the information screen. The second type of search result that's possible is that you have a possible match. If you'll notice at the bottom, it will provide you with a possible match that you may be searching for. If that's the one you're searching for, you can click the name and it will pull up the client information screen. Another possibility is that there are several possible matches. In this case, you would choose the client that you were searching for. The third type of search result would be that there was no match at all, and you'll receive this notice where at the bottom it says no clients were found for the requested search criteria. If no client is found, or if none of the possible matches show up, you can review your search criteria for accuracy. Here's a couple of tips. For any client with a hyphenated or two-part last name, try searching one part of the name. Consider whether the client could have a record under a different name or if it's misspelled, their first or last name. If your client is not in the NCIR, the client should be added. When creating the client's new record, please enter as much information as possible. First thing you'll do, you'll see this button on the right that says Add this client. When you click on that, it will provide you with a screen that includes the last name, first name, and date of birth. that you added. If you get a possible match, and this is not the client you're searching for, you can click the Create New Client from this screen. Remember to add as much information as possible, including the county of residence, and then you'll click in the middle gray button where it says Responsible Person. This is where the demographics will go, and you will add a responsible person, or if the client is 18 or over, the responsible person will be self. In the client comment section, when you click there, because there's no free text in the NCIR, we have some client comments that will pop up, and you can scroll through and choose a client comment. For example, if someone has immunity to one of the diseases, you can document that here, or if they have a contraindication, you can click on the client comment, add the applies to date, which is required, and then click the Save button. And you'll notice Client Updated appears at the top to indicate that the client information has been saved. Next, we're going to view the immunization history. From the client information screen, you will click on this button, History Recommend. That will take you to the client's immunization record. There's 3 parts to this screen. At the top is the client information, their address, and any comments will appear in the client comment box. Secondly, on this part number 2, this shows the immunization record. Any vaccines that are documented for this client will go here. And the third part is the recommendation screen. This will show you, based on the immunization history and the exact age of the client, what they need if they're in your store that day. I'm going to briefly go over how to read the recommendation screen. The best way to read it is to look at the first column at the check marks. If there's a check mark, that indicates that they are due for that vaccine. Everything is in columns and it's color-coded. The first column is the earliest date. When that date comes, it will turn yellow, but you'll notice that there's no check mark. That lets you know that it's not within the normal recommended time that we give this vaccine. It's a little early, but it's okay to give it if this is yellow. This would apply to someone who's on an accelerated schedule, they're high risk, or maybe they're going out of the country. The next column is the recommended date. When this date comes, it turns green and the check mark appears. This indicates that it is now time, the recommended time for this client to receive this vaccine. All these dates are according to ACIP recommendations, which are built into the NCIR. The next column is the overdue date. When that date comes, it turns blue. The check mark remains. That indicates that now this client has gone into the overdue time frame for receiving that vaccine. The last column is the latest date. That applies to vaccines that have an age limit. And when that date comes, the column will turn pink, as you'll notice here, and it will document maximum age exceeded. This is designed for you to look at before you administer a vaccine, and this will prevent you from giving a vaccine to someone who's too old for it. You'll also notice that when a series is complete, it will turn pink and it will document that that series is complete. Now we're ready to add and edit any historical immunizations. There are 2 possibilities that you will have from entering vaccines historically. The first will be any vaccines that are administered at your store. The second possibility is that a client comes in with a documented certificate of immunization, and you can enter those vaccines in the NCIR. From the immunization record and recommendation screen, you will click on the historical immunization button. This screen will appear. Next to the vaccine administered, you will enter the pharmacy name, the pharmacy number, and the name of the user who administered the vaccine. Then you will document the date in the box provided. If this is a record that you are entering from someone who brought in a historical immunization, then you can click Save and Submit. If it's an immunization you're documenting that you provided at your store, you will click on Trade Name Details. This screen will pop up, and it will allow you to document the trade name, which will populate here. Every trade name that's associated with the vaccine given will appear, and you will choose the one that you administered. And in this box, you'll be able to document the lot number. You'll notice that the date provided and the pharmacy organization will populate from the previous screen. Once you click Save, it will bring you back to the immunization record, and you'll see where the dose was documented. Tdap is a little different from the other vaccines. When you document a dose of Tdap, it will look like this. It appears there are 2 doses given, but the 2 dates signify that a Tdap was given, and it fulfills the requirement for Tdap and for the TD vaccine. Back to the screen where you document your doses. If you notice on the left, all the vaccines are listed. If you are administering or documenting a dose that does not appear on that list, you can click this button at the bottom, and more choices will appear. Choose the vaccine, for example, zoster, that you want to appear in the list. Once you click on it, it will be added to the list of vaccines. Then once you document that, again, go to Trade Name Details, document the trade name and the lot number, and it will be added to the immunization record. If there is an error and you documented this dose in an error or the date is incorrect, you can edit the dose by clicking on the edit icon to the right. Once you click that, this screen appears, and you can either delete the dose, change the date provided, the provider organization and name, and at the bottom you can also document any adverse reactions to the vaccine. If a client calls that they had an allergic reaction or any of the adverse reactions listed, it can be documented here by clicking on it and clicking the Save button. Now that we've added the historical immunizations, you have the option of printing the record. To print the record, you will click on the Reports button and choose the option Patient Copy. You must have Adobe Acrobat Reader in order to view these reports. And by clicking this Patient Copy, that fulfills the requirements of an official certificate of immunization. This is what it looks like. It has the vaccines that were given, and at the bottom, the dates for the next recommended vaccines. We ask that you use a lifetime immunization card if possible when giving vaccine, as printing the immunization record can slow down the system significantly. But if you give multiple vaccines and you need to print a record, this is how you will do it. That completes the training checklist for a typical user. And the last point on the checklist is adding users. This will be done by a pharmacy administrator. You want me to stop there? We don't need that part? We do. Oh, we do. We need that part. So a pharmacy administrator will be able to add users. There are 2 user roles in the NCIR, pharmacy administrator and a pharmacy typical user. A pharmacy typical user is the primary user of the NCIR. The typical user can add, edit, find clients in the NCIR, and manage immunization information and print immunization records for the clients. The pharmacy administrator can do all those functions and can add new users to the NCIR. Adding new users, from the home page, you'll go to your blue menu, click on Manage Users, and Add User. This is where the username will be typed in the username box, and then click Verify. All the information will populate in the boxes below if this user registered correctly. The pharmacy administrator will choose the role, either pharmacy administrator or pharmacy typical user. And once they click Save, they will be added as a user, and the user will be able to access the NCIR. Remember, as a pharmacy administrator, it is your role to inactivate any users that no longer work at your store. The way to do that is to go again to Manage Users, and this time click the Find button. It will list all the users. You'll click the name on the one you want to inactivate, and then click the radio button next to Inactive, and then Save. That will inactivate the user so they do not have access if they move on from your store. Now we'll provide a live demonstration of the NCIR. Now we're ready to show you a live demonstration from the NCIR using our test site. When you click on your shortcut from your desktop, you will see this login screen. Here you'll enter your user ID and your password. And enter or click the login. Once you log in, it will take you directly to the home page. I have an extra step. But you will see immediately this screen. This is the home page. Again, your organization will be at the top and your name. Please do not share user IDs. Everyone in the store should have their own user ID and password. Your role, either pharmacy administrator or pharmacy typical user, will appear at the top. Again, here's your home button. You can change your password from here. Log out button. If you need help, you will contact your trainer. And the light bulb button for any questions using the system user manual, which is also on the blue menu. Here's your announcements. And below the announcements, we mentioned some resources that are provided for you. Here's where you can get to our immunization website, Immunize North Carolina. There's some other resources for you as you scroll down. You can also access VAERS reporting system by clicking here. And below that, vaccine information sheets can be printed directly from the home screen of the NCIR. The first place you'll always start is Manage Client, right under the Client section. Remember, this is your menu on the left. Will take you to every screen that you need to go to. You'll click on Manage Client, and you'll have your search options. I'm going to use a test client named Zoster Patient. You'll type in the last name, first name, and date of birth. The date of birth is written with two numbers, and 4 for the year. So I'm typing in 05/01/1945. You don't need to type in the slashes, it puts it in for you. And then click the Find button. If our patient is in there, it will populate like this. And if it is not, you'll remember you have the option of adding this client. When you do add a client, please be sure you add as much information as possible, including the complete address, which will go here under responsible person. You will add the name, the address. There's a place for a phone number. You could add multiple responsible persons if that applies. And here's where you'll click the client comments. If you scroll down to the client comment box, it will populate and you can scroll through and view all the possible comments. Here we have immunity to varicella. If someone has a religious exemption, a medical exemption, pregnancy would be a contraindication, and you can scroll through. Please become familiar with all the client comments that are available to you. You choose the one you want, click in the box, and put the applies to date. The applies to date is required. There's also a possible end date that would apply to short-term contraindications such as pregnancy. Once you click on that, scroll back up to the top and click Save to save the comment. Now, when all the information is entered, including county of residence, we're ready to look at the immunization history, which is located here under History Recommend. Click that button and it will take you to the immunization record. You'll notice at the top is where all the information is for the client demographics, and also any comments will appear here in red. If there are multiple comments, you can click the arrow button. It will scroll through each of the comments listed for this client. Here's where the vaccine is listed, and you'll notice this patient has one vaccine, zoster vaccine, and here's the recommend screen. Because there's no history added here, there's only one vaccine, it's recommending that this client needs all the recommended vaccines. If you have a record that a patient brings in, you can add those doses to the immunization record, and it will change the vaccine recommendations here accordingly. Once you look at the recommendations and see what they need and agree that what are you preparing to give is correct according to ACIP recommendations, you administer the vaccine and you're ready to add the immunization under historical immunization. This is also where you'll click if you're entering historical immunizations from a shot record that was brought by a patient. Once you click the historical immunization button, you will see this grid will appear. Locate the vaccine that you administered, for example, varicella, and here's where you'll type your store number. Next, you'll click in the box where you could type in the date, or if you use the calendar and click the OK button, it will populate with that date. If your vaccine is not located on this list here, this is the box where you can click to add a vaccine to the list. Once you click on it, it will appear on that list. If you've administered the vaccine, you will type in this information along with the date and then come up to the top and click Trade Name Details. This will allow that vaccine to be pulled out. The date and the provider organization will carry over from the previous screen. And here's where you can document the trade name. You'll choose the product name that you administered, and it will populate in the box. And then you will document the lot number. There's another button here called Date Estimated. That applies to vaccines that were given out of state. If someone brings a shot record to you that has vaccines that you want to add to the immunization record in the NCIR, there are some states, unlike North Carolina, that don't require the month, day, and year to be documented on the official immunization record. If you receive a record like that from out of state that only has the month and year documented, for example, January 1994, it must have a day in order to be entered into the NCIR. So we ask that you estimate that day by using the last day of the month. So that record would be entered as January 31st, 1994, and then you would click this button to document that it was estimated. It'll put the letters EST next to the date to document that you had to estimate that date because it came with an out-of-state record that did not document the month, day, and year. Once everything is added here, click Save. It'll take you back to the record and show that it has added that to the record. Here you'll see the varicella was added. To edit this dose, if you realize the date was entered wrong or it was added in error, you can click the edit icon. It'll take you here where you can change the date. You can add a reaction at the bottom if that applies, or you can delete this dose if it was added in error. Click the delete button. It'll delete the dose and take you back to the record. Now we're ready to print the immunization record. To do that, you'll click on the Reports button. There is a print button here next to Reports, but that will just print this screen, which is not an official immunization record. To get to the official record, click Reports and choose the patient copy of the immunization record. Once you click on that, the immunization record will appear and you can print the patient record. This is what it looks like. It has the state seal on the back, the immunizations listed, and any recommended vaccines that are due are listed at the bottom. We ask that you use a lifetime immunization card, that you write in the information if possible, as a lot of printing of these records in the NCIR causes our system to slow down significantly. But if you need to print the record, that's how you will do it. You can click the back button to go back to the NCIR screen. Now I'll demonstrate, if you are a pharmacy administrator, that is your role in your store, you will be able to add new users and inactivate users in your store. You'll click Manage Users. Again, this is only for a pharmacy administrator. The Manage User option will appear on the left side of the screen on your menu. You'll click Add User. You will have the user ID of that user because they've already sent it to you, so you will populate that in the username box. I'm going to use my fake user. Pharmacy Tech is the user ID. Once you populate this box with the user ID, simply click Verify. All the information will populate here. Remember that before they send you their user ID, they will have already registered in NCID and clicked their email link and gone through the training. Then you will assign the role. You'll see several options for the role, but the only options for pharmacy users will be pharmacy administrator or pharmacy typical user. You'll click either one of those that apply and then save. When the user has been successfully added, you'll see this alert at the top, and now that user will have access to the NCIR. Those are the functions for a typical user and an administrator for the NCIR. Now we'll return to Nikita.
Now we will go over pharmacy agreement reminders. For each dose of vaccine administered, a written copy of the relevant current vaccine information statement must be provided to the patient. A recommendation is to have up-to-date laminated VIS statements on hand for patients to read. All required adverse events must be reported as they occur through the Vaccine Adverse Events reporting system, either electronically, by mail, or by fax. As a reminder, there is a direct link to that site on the NCIR homepage. User accounts not used for 90 days are automatically deactivated. If deactivation occurs, you will need to register for a new NCID account to use and access the NCIR. Lastly, the registry is up to date to follow the most current Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices, Recommendations, and Guidelines. This is a list of common questions you may encounter. As a store user, go to your trainer with any questions or concerns you may have. The most common NCIR questions are related to user ID. Remember, you'll create your user ID, but it won't be active until you verified it by email and your trainer has activated it. Trainers won't activate your user ID until you have successfully passed your competency exam. If you forget your password, you will need to click on the Forget Password link on the main login menu. If you find the system is still not allowing you to log in, wait an hour and try again. If this is still not working, call ITS Help Desk at 1-800-722-3946. Also, if you have an internet outage or if the NCIR is down, we have a new client form that you can print off our website and keep at your store to record the necessary information to enter into the NCIR later when it is working. If you have additional questions or concerns, once again, reach out to your trainer. But we also have our website where you can find helpful resources such as this webinar